Welcome- yeah. So welcome everyone. As you all know, I'm Sumitra Murthy. I'm the visiting clinical assistant professor in the Department of Disability and Human Development at University of Illinois, Chicago. And I am the chair of this SIG on aging. Um, we are going to have bi-monthly meetings, as we already mentioned before, and I'm happy to see, so many people joining the group, and we really hope that we gain momentum and more people join in, and we have some interesting presenters at our bi-monthly meetings, and we have some good discussions about aging. We will keep updating you about any events that are coming up, and looking forward to more such meetings. So, for the agenda today, I just wanted to give a few updates. So, we have our AUCD conference coming up. Um, it is from November 17th to 19th. Um, One announcement that I wanted to make is that this time it's going to be virtual, not in person, because of all the uncertainties. And AUCD wants to make sure that more people attend the conference, so they have shifted it from in person to virtual. So I have just posted the link to the AUCD conference. And at the bottom of the link, at the bottom of the page, there's a link so that you could subscribe to the email about the AUCD conference. Um, uh, Based on our discussions at the last AUCD conference, um, what I would suggest is that we should have a symposium on aging, if possible, at AUCD conference. And if those who have attended AUCD conference before, symposium here at AUCD conference is where presentations of the same or similar topic meet together for 1 hour, and each presenter presents for 15 minutes or so on a related topic. One thing that came up when we were meeting last time is that maybe we should have this symposium on aging where aging related topics could be presented. So I just wanted to bring that up. I want you to kind of marinate on it. And if anyone is interested in presenting on any of your topics that are related to aging, please let us know. Send an email to Becky or me. Um, or the AUCD listserv, so that we can start discussing about it. We still do have time, but I believe that the call to proposals will come up pretty soon. So that's one announcement that I wanted to make. The second is that the gerontologist journal has released the special issue on redefining successful aging. So I just wanted to bring your attention to that. And I'm just posting the link if you're interested to look at some of very interesting articles in this issue of Gerontologist. So these were some of my quick updates and announcements. And now we come to the most interesting part of our meeting today, which is the presentation by Dr. Laura Rice and Dr. Wendy Rogers. Um, and I'm very happy to welcome them for this presentation. Just a quick introduction about them. Dr. Laura Rice is an associate professor in the Department of Health and Kinesiology in the College of Applied Health Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. She is the Associate Director of Center on Health, Aging and Disability, Program Director of Collaborations in the Advancement of Research on Disability, Director of Graduate Studies in Health and Kinesiology, and Director of Disability Participation and Quality of Life Research Laboratory. Her research focuses on the management of secondary impairments associated with physical disabilities and increasing quality of life and community participation. In addition, Dr. Rice is interested in developing outcome measures to evaluate functional mobility skills. Dr. Rice's research is funded by the National Institute on Disability, Independent Living and Rehabilitation Research, the NIDLR, Craig H. Nielsen Foundation, Paralyzed Veterans of America, and National Multiple Sclerosis Society. Dr. Rice also remains active as a seating and mobility specialist. She's a RESNA certified assistive technology professional and director of the Illinois Wheelchair and Scooter Clinic. She received her PhD in rehabilitation science and technology from the University of Pittsburgh in 2010 under the direction of Michael Bonninger and MS in physical therapy and BS in health sciences from Jefferson University in 2004 and 2013, respectively. Um, Dr. Wendy Rogers is Kahn Professor of Applied Health Sciences at the University of Illinois Urbana-Champaign. She's a certified human factors professional. She's director of the McKinney Family Life Home, program director of collaborations in health, aging, research, and technology, and director of the Human Factors and Aging Laboratory. Her research focuses on advanced technology design to support autonomy of older adults with and without disabilities. She explores the benefits of technologies, including robots, smart home technology, digital health, wearables, and telehealth for cognitive, physical, and emotional health. So, welcome, Dr. Rice and Dr. Rogers, and the stage is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. We really appreciate such a warm welcome. It's wonderful to be with all of you today. I'll get started in just one second. If you guys wouldn't mind maybe just putting in the chat some of your backgrounds, if you're a researcher, a provider, this will just help to give us a little bit of a sense of who we're chatting with today. But I'm going to share my slides. Just one second. All right. Can everybody see that okay? Okay, perfect. All right, well, thank you. So Wendy and I are really glad to be with you today, and we're going to be talking about our research center, which is funded by NIDLR, technologies to support aging among people with long-term disabilities. We're happy to take any questions kind of as we go, and we're also have some time specifically at the end to take any of your questions. What we plan to do is start with an overview of the center, our mission and such. Then Wendy is going to talk about her project, which is focused on understanding user needs. And then I'll be talking about a project specifically focused on fall detection and management. Right, so we have a wonderful center, but we're a very interdisciplinary group. I am the director of the center, and Wendy is part of our leadership team. In addition, we collaborate with other individuals at Georgia State University, John Sanford. Tracy Mitzner is the principal researcher at a consulting firm called Person in Design. And Elena Remillard is a research scientist at Georgia Tech. All right, and so our center is affectionately called TechSage, and we are focused on meeting the evolving needs of people living with long-term disabilities, where they live, work, and play. And this is really important to us. We want to look at people in all aspects of their life, not just how they're functioning in their home. And we do this, we achieve this goal by conducting advanced engineering research, developing innovative technologies, and producing transformative technical and scientific knowledge that will increase use and access to these different types of technologies. So TechStage is a rehabilitation engineering research center. It initially was founded in 2013 by John Sanford, Wendy Rogers, and Tracy Mitzner. And this was first done at Georgia Tech. Since that time, the center has been competitively renewed 2 times, most recently here at the University of Illinois. And the center, each time it's renewed, we kind of iterate on the different projects that we have involved. We build on them, we bring new projects in. But we're always focused on having research projects, development projects. We're developing new technologies, and then also training projects as well. So training a variety of different people, clinicians, other researchers, kind of the next students to bring up the next generation of researchers. So the population that we focus on are people aging with long-term disabilities. So this is an individual who had sustained a disability early in their life and now are getting to facing our older adults now. So most of while our studies vary a little bit, most of the cutoff age is 60 and older. And we specifically focus on individuals with mobility, vision, and hearing impairments. And we are, as much as possible, try to have a very diverse background of participants. And actually, Wendy will talk a little bit about her needs assessment. This round of funding, we have specifically focused on trying to recruit a more diverse population. Okay. So why aging with a disability? We're really interested in this particular population of people because there are unique challenges that are created when we kind of put these two groups together. So older adults and then people living with disabilities. Traditionally, these were kind of very separate groups and areas that people looked at. But when there's a combination of aging and then also disability, there are unique challenges that this population faces. Some of the typical age-related declines often occur earlier, and this really challenges people in successful aging. So as I mentioned, these used to be very separate. They were also very underrepresented in different programs or policies or research. And we really saw that this integrated approach is needed to provide comprehensive resources and support. And I just think even thinking about the backgrounds that Wendy and I have, really kind of bring the two together. Wendy is, expert in human factors, focusing on older adults. I come from a therapy background, people living with different types of disabilities. And so just even our two backgrounds kind of come together and really complement each other to help support this population that we're interested in. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit of kind of the theoretical foundation of our center and kind of what we think about when we're thinking about how we're developing our research, our development projects, and also training. So we have a model that was first developed in 2018 called the TechStage Technology Intervention Model. And it helps to emphasize the impact that technology interventions can have on activity and participation of people aging with long-term disabilities. And we've pulled from other models such as the ICF model and also the ecological model of person environment fit. So I'm going to first explain it sort of conceptually, and then I'm going to apply an example to it. So starting over here with the two interlocking circles, this is the idea of what I've been talking about of aging and disability. So a person has an impairment, and then combined, these age-related changes come together. And this can result in a person, perhaps a person who had a disability previously, who was able to use technology, be able to function very effectively in their day-to-day life. But then when these age-related changes were added on, many of the aspects of their life that were once facilitators, or they could actively engage in their community and their environment, suddenly started more barriers were facing them. So that is represented in this first square with number 1, where we see more barriers, these Bs, than facilitators. And this results in more disability and less successful performance in society. However, the main focus of our center is trying to implement different types of technology interventions so that we can really start to change these barriers that represented by the Bs to facilitators. And so you can see the Bs are turning into Fs. And then this results in more successful performance as opposed to disability. So let's apply an example to this. So our case study's name is Sam. And Sam is an older adult. He's a 60-year-old male. He has a T2 spinal cord injury. He sustained a spinal cord injury at the age of 19. Sam is very independent with all his activities of daily living. He uses a manual wheelchair. He's employed full time. He's married. He is a father of two adult children. Sam, however, has recently had the onset of non-traumatic bilateral shoulder pain. Nothing really specifically happened, just over time, his shoulders began to hurt. And this is a very common situation for people who use manual wheelchairs. About 75% of the population will experience shoulder pain over their lifetime. So as a result, the pain that Sam has been experiencing, it impacts his ability to work or sleep. It's also difficult for him to push his wheelchair long distances. Performing transfers from his vehicle is challenging, and he's also really not able to engage in exercise. So he's starting to face more barriers in his life, and he's not able to have the successful performance in his life. As a result, he often stays home a lot more often. He's starting to experience some depression. Work is becoming very difficult for him. Getting into the office is hard. He spends a lot of his energy just getting in. He has a lot of pain when he gets to work. He's has some limited interaction with his family. And the thing that's worrying him the most, his daughter is getting married in about 6 months, and he's really worried about his ability to participate in his daughter's wedding. So as you can see, a lot more disability. There's a major impact on his life. But fortunately, he's able to have technology to help him, to support him. So he's fortunate enough to work with a therapist. He gets power assist add-on wheels to his manual wheelchair. He doesn't have to put as much effort into pushing his wheelchair. And this helps him to engage with more family activities and those different social roles that he's been missing out. And he also enrolled in an online transfer training program where he could improve his technique, and that has helped to reduce his shoulder pain. And he's also started telecommuting as well, so he doesn't have to go into the office every day, and this helps to reduce the number of transfers. And this type of technology support is really what we're trying to do in our center. We're looking at different ways that we can really change the outcomes for older adults. So as a result, after he uses this technology, he's now able to get out of the house and do the activities that he enjoys. He's actually gone back to hand cycling because he's not having so much pain in his shoulder. His depression is better managed. And most important, he was able to participate in his daughter's wedding. So much more successful performance than he previously was experiencing. All right. So, that's the emphasis of what we like to do in TechSage. So we have 3 different research projects, 5 development projects, and 2 training projects. Today, we're only going to be able to hear about the 2 of them listed in red. But I would encourage you to check out our website. It's at the end of the slide presentation. We do a variety of different things. We have a Tai Chi program where we're implementing in a variety of different ways. We're looking at different types of technology to assist with bathing, both showering, toilet transfers, Other things to help train occupational therapy students as well to learn about the transfers. We also have a project focused on wayfinding for individuals with visual disabilities. And then we have a really cool incubator project where we're helping to support new projects to kind of come up through the pipeline, and especially those done by junior faculty members. And then we also have two training projects as well, where we're looking at different in-person and online training opportunities for students and clinicians. And then also a robotic pitch competition where students get to pitch different ideas of how they can use a robot. All right, so I'm going to turn it over to Wendy now, who's going to be talking about user needs.
Thanks, Laura. We're doing a tag team here for you. I've been enjoying seeing everybody's background in the chat. Now Laura can look and see who she was talking to. So one of the things that is a hallmark of NIDLR in particular is focusing on who the users are and making sure that the the design that we're developing, the technology we're developing really meets their needs. And so the Research One project is all about user needs. And so we have a fairly large team. We involve a number of students. And we have, oh, Laura, I'm sorry, I'm trying to go ahead, but I don't think I can. Could you go to the next screen for me? Nope, Ames, sorry.
Oh,
Back one.
okay.
There we go. Thank you. So R1, I'm used to being able to control it myself. R1, it has three big aims, and we're broadening the diversity of our access study. Lots of acronyms. I'll tell you what they all mean, and I'll tell you more about this study in particular. But it's aging concerns, challenges, and everyday solution strategies. And the second aim is a companion study, but it's focusing on people who are still in the workplace. So we call this the DAWN study, Disability and Aging and Work Needs. And then the third aim is to encourage more people to use our data. And so that's something I'll talk with you a little bit about at the end. We're gathering these large mixed methods, quantitative and qualitative data sets that are rich with information that might be useful to some of your own projects. So next slide, please. And just go ahead and do all the animations that way. Yeah, thank you. So the access study, as I mentioned, it's a large scale mixed method study, and we're really focusing on understanding problems in everyday activities. So what is the frequency of the problem, the nature, the distribution, and then really importantly, what are people's response strategies? How are they managing these challenges? Are they using technologies, tools, assistance from other people? Have they created their own methods for responding to challenges? And so our target population is people over age 60 who have had a long-term disabilities, much like Laura has just described. And in phase one of the access study, we focused on people who were low vision or blind, who had a mobility impairment, or who were deaf or hard of hearing, but who used American Sign Language. In phase two, we focused on two specific types of vision impairment, macular degeneration or glaucoma, multiple sclerosis, and then people who were late deafened. So that means they had already begun to acquire language or hear language, but they lost their hearing, and most of them are not sign language users. They're using other ways of communicating. What we're hoping to do or planning to do in phase three is to broaden our samples. So in these first two phases, we have about 18 to 20% ethnic minorities, which is really very low. And we want to make sure that we have a much broader representation. And so we're going to be looking at all different types of disabilities and particularly exploring these underrepresented groups. Next slide. So what I want to do today, just to give you a flavor for the kind of data that we're getting, is I'm going to just give you one example. The Access study focuses on all different activities of daily living. So healthcare, social and interpersonal, basic daily living, household management, work, service, learning, and then leisure and recreation. And we're trying to cover the whole range of where might people be having difficulties, and most importantly, where are their unmet needs? where might we be able to design technology or tools that can help them? And so what we do is within each category, so healthcare activities, for example, we would ask the participants of these different activities within healthcare, which one is most difficult for you? And then the one that they identify, we dig deep. We have an in-depth interview about that particular topic. What is it that makes it difficult? What do you do about it? Is it a cognitive challenge, a physical challenge? So we really get a lot of insights into their difficulties. So I'm going to focus in my example, not just yet. I'm going to focus, sorry, I'm going to focus on the topic of healthcare activities and then specifically older adults who are late deafened. So go ahead, Laura. So this paper has just come out very recently in the archives of gerontology and geriatrics. And we focused on communication challenges and response strategies for late deafened older adults. And this was the Doctor of Audiology project for Erin Heniff. So we had a student who was an expert in studying people with hearing loss. So she was invaluable to have on the team. Next slide. So you're probably aware of, how late deafened is classified. This is specifically our inclusion criterion. Severe to profound hearing loss after speech and hearing development with people typically not using sign language. And we know from the literature that severe hearing loss in older adults can be associated with reduced quality of life. We have evidence of these various common experiences like fatigue and distress, a strain on interpersonal relationships, increased feelings of social isolation, maybe a loss of social identity because they're not able to communicate with people who are hearing or people who are deaf but use ASL. And depending on when they lose their hearing, we see evidence of some emotional grief and depression from that experience. Next slide. What we don't know, though, is really in-depth information about individuals who maybe lost their hearing when they were younger, but are now also experiencing the challenges of old age, like Laura was describing in the TechSage model. And we especially wanted to explore their healthcare experiences. What challenges are they experiencing in the context of healthcare? And what are their communication challenges? And what are their personal experiences? And some of the things that we find, which I'll point to, is this real lack of awareness for healthcare providers about the unique needs of these individuals. And so our goals were to identify specific activities that produce communication challenges, understand what those challenges are, and then explore strategies that they've used to overcome the challenges. Next slide, please. So remember I told you there were those different topics within healthcare that they could identify as for them as an individual, what is most difficult. And for this sample, there were 60 people. 64% of them reported participating in healthcare appointments. That's where their most challenging activities are. Second most was managing health, diet, and nutrition. Third was accessing healthcare information. Managing medications wasn't a big issue for them, but participating in healthcare appointments was really by far the majority issue. Next slide. And so we have some coding that we did to determine, well, what is the nature of the challenge? So is it the auditory stimuli that's being used? So, and I have some quotes here to illustrate. So if there's more than one person talking, I can't be looking at both lips at the same time, so I don't always know what's going on. Many of these individuals relied on lip reading for conversations. A second category that was commonly reported was lack of support from others. So even in the doctor's office, even though I remind them I need to see their face when they're talking to me, they often forget and they talk to their computer, and I have to keep repeating myself. And that leads to frustration on the parts of the older adults. And then who's speaking to them? So using the phone, and if I'm speaking to somebody, even if I tell them I have a hearing loss, they talk very fast. What you're seeing, and that we saw, is some themes of people just not being aware of the limitations, the challenges that the person is experiencing, and them having to repeatedly advocate for themselves to be able to communicate. Next slide. We also were very interested in, okay, what are they doing? How are they managing to deal with these challenges? And here the topics were pretty evenly distributed across these categories. Many of them are trying to rely on some type of assistive technology or their own personal amplification devices or other kinds of tools, devices, and I'll show you what some of those are. Next slide, please. So these are just some, oh, sorry, I forgot we had some quotes here. These are just some examples of what they are using that's useful to them. Live transcription on my cell phone, but it doesn't always work. And then wearing hearing aids, we also heard that's often not sufficient. Or just trying to avoid using the telephone and relying on email or text as much as possible. That was their strategy. Next, please. Whoops. Making it challenging for you. So one of the things that's really interesting is what they do, what they come up with on their own. I know from looking at what all of you do, you know how creative people are. And if they're faced with these challenges, they're going to figure it out, right? Sometimes it'll be successful, sometimes not. But this is what they're trying to do. So being adaptive in their communication, trying to think ahead. So this one quote, finishing the sentences in my mind or asking people to articulate better. Sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't. Um, Sometimes they just get frustrated. That's just the reality. Another strategy that I thought was important was the planning ahead idea. So writing things down before I go to the doctors and then repeating back and trying to make sure that they understand and going to classes, going to oral rehab classes to learn strategies. One of the reasons we look at this particular category, sorry, I'm going to stay there just for a minute, this particular category of what people are doing, their own methods, is some of the people who participate in our research, they're really successful agers. So I'm so excited that the new journal was posted because we have an article from TexAge in that, thinking about successful aging for people with disabilities. A lot of the people in our study are aging successfully and they've created ways to manage their challenges. And so we can take what they're doing and try to harness that into technology tools for other people or for ways that we can develop interventions. Okay, next slide for me, Laura. Thanks. Another common category was collaborative assistance and support. So feeling the need to educate others, remove your mask, write things down, wait till I'm done, be patient, repeat, those kinds of things. Having some what the audiologists call communication repair strategies. So having the person read the information for them, and then just relying on other people, my husband, or if somebody has an accent, relying on somebody else to, in a sense, translate for you is basically what they were having to do. So my last two slides. One is just to summarize a little bit what we're learning. First of all, and again, I bet most of you already know this in your areas, but ADA requirements are not always met. And we have these rules, but they're not being met. And these individuals are reporting, especially in the context of healthcare, continued challenges. And we need to think about how do we educate healthcare providers about hearing loss and maybe reduce the stigma to improve the quality of support. And there's a lot of potential for technology. Many of our participants use more than one thing at a time, just trying multiple ways. And maybe we need to provide more education to people who have hearing loss about the technologies that are available to them. And thinking about how can we help people learn adaptive communication strategies. And I don't just mean the person with the hearing loss, I mean the healthcare providers. We need to be doing more education there. Okay, now my last slide. Just to summarize, so I've told you a little bit about the Access study and that our goal is to be broadening our enrollment, and we'll be recruiting soon. And so we can hopefully share our recruitment materials with you, and you can share them with your networks of people who might be interested. Likewise, for the Dawn study, we're developing the study right now. We're doing some pilot testing and interviewing subject matter experts. And we're really going to be focusing on people age 50 plus who are still in the workplace. And that's another area where you might be able to provide us some insights. And then the last is we have this wealth of data from Access already and soon from Dawn. If there's any of those topics you're particularly interested in, there's always opportunity to collaborate, reach out to me and maybe explore our data to help advance some of your own interests. So with that, I will turn it back. So Laura, should I take questions now or just turn it back to you?
Um, let's just see if anybody has any questions. Sometimes it's hard to wait to the end.
Yeah, exactly. So if anybody has any questions about what I presented so far, or you can save them to the end, you can pop them in the chat, raise your hand.
All right, well, I'll get going
Okay,
again.
excellent. All right.
All right. Well, thank you, Wendy. All right. So Wendy really helps to set the stage very well for us, and then the other projects associated with TechSage kind of use those needs that we find out from the Access study and the Dawn study to help to develop do research projects or develop different technologies. And so my project is a development project, and we're working to develop a fall detection system to monitor and manage falls. Okay, so just give you a little bit of background. So this is specifically focused on people who use wheelchairs. So there's about 65 million people who use wheelchairs worldwide, 3.3 million Americans. And most importantly, this number is really going up depending on what source you use. Some sources say, about 2 million more new Americans will use a wheelchair each year, and many of them are older adults. So of these millions of people who use wheelchairs, most of them will experience a fall, at least one fall in a year. So 3 out of 5 people. Another important thing to note is that the majority, 4 out of 5 people, need assistance to recover. So after they have a fall, they need help getting back up. But I think the most important thing is that after the fall occurs, before a person can get back up, they will spend an average of 1 to 45 minutes on the ground. So I've been talking to you for about a minute or so far. And I don't know, maybe that did seem really long to you, but imagine you spent that past minute lying on the ground in your garage. You live in Minnesota, it's January, it's 20 degrees below zero. So while a minute may not sound that long, depending on the environment, it can be a very long time. So, previous research has shown that extended time on the ground after a fall can result in reduced functional independence, increase the risk of injury, additional injuries, and increased hospital admissions, and then also increased admissions to long-term care facilities. So a lot of significant issues of what we call this long lie period, so lying on the ground after a fall. So, um, because of these problems, we really need an automated fall detection system that's able to accurately detect a fall from a wheelchair, automatically summon assistance from a preferred care provider, and reduce the amount of time that a person is lying on the ground. So let's see kind of what's out there to address these issues. So first of all, we'll think about self-triggering devices, where we kind of think about those pretty frequently. Kind of the long and the short of that is research shows that people just really don't like to use them. They don't want to bother their friends or their family. They think they can get up themselves. A lot of devices are just plain ugly, like this one. I know I had a great aunt who my mom got a device for, and she just would not wear it because it did not look good with her outfit. Another problem is there's often limitations of who is notified. Often it just calls 911 or emergency medical professionals, and a lot of people don't want that. They don't want an ambulance coming to their house, so on and so forth. There are also lots of automated devices on the market, and especially we're seeing technology increase. The limitation with this is that those devices are primarily designed for ambulatory populations. And through our research, we found that falls from a wheelchair are distinct. And we actually did some testing in our lab to look at the Apple Watch that has a built-in fall detection system in it. And the most up-to-date one was then the Series 5, and it failed to detect 95% of falls from a wheelchair. So really not something that you could, feel confident in, that you would be able to get assistance after a fall occurred. So if we're kind of looking at our list of needs, we really don't have, we didn't meet any of these specific needs for people who use wheelchairs. So as a result, we decided to embark on this project about almost 7 years ago to develop an automated fall detection system that can automatically and reliably detect falls among people who use wheelchairs. So to start off, the first thing we did was we had to start from scratch. And so we looked at fall acceleration patterns from a wheelchair. Essentially what we did is we had a lot of people fall out of wheelchairs. We did use able-bodied participants because we were asking them to fall multiple times. We had them fall backwards, forwards, to the side. It's always fun to watch students fall. But so we had them in a laboratory setting and we had them a lot of protection, but we looked at exactly what the acceleration of a fall would look like. And we used a marker detection system to be able to get a lot of aspects of the fall. I do not use that when I recruit PhD students, by the way. So we also wanted to look at different activities of daily living so that things that we thought maybe the system might confuse a fall with. So doing a transfer, rolling over rough surfaces, going down curbs, things like that. And so we were able to develop an algorithm that could differentiate between these activities of daily living and the falls themselves. We also really wanted to make sure that we were developing a system that people would want to use. So we did interviews with people who use wheelchairs and scooters to examine their preferences. And essentially what they wanted was a very conservative, sleek, small design. They did not want it to be obtrusive. And we gave them a lot of different forms and suggestions, and actually a watch form is what they wanted with wireless charging. Another really important thing that came out of our interviews with these participants is they wanted to have flexibility in selecting who was notified in an emergency and the ability to change it quickly. So if a care partner was maybe a family member was your primary care partner and they went on vacation, they wanted to be able to easily switch that to somebody else. So what we came up with was our system. We call it Wheel Safe. It does use a smartwatch to detect the falls, and it's paired with a smartphone. This is kind of briefly what the system looks like, kind of at steady state, just let you know the movement's being tracked. If the system senses that a fall has occurred, it will ask you, have you fallen? Yes or no. If you say yes, it'll take you to this next screen that asks, do you need help? And if you say yes, it will send a text message to a preset up care partner. And you can set as many people as you want. If you answer no to have you fallen, it'll just go back to tracking movement. And if you say you don't need help, just goes back to the original state. If you don't answer any of these questions, it automatically sends this message, because kind of thinking the idea maybe you've gotten hurt and you can't interact with your device. So here it is in real life. I didn't have the student fall, so I just had her fake it for the video.
Open up the app. Press yes.
In there, and send a text message has been sent. All right. And so we continue to get feedback from people after they're using the system. And, we've got probably our biggest theme was this idea of security and reassuring to know that somebody could come help. I like having that security. We did talk to some family members as well, and they felt the same. They kind of talked about the same sense of security, knowing that their family member had a way to get in contact with them. Okay, so as we were going through this, kind of another problem popped up for us. And I do a lot of research on falls in generally, and kind of across the board, I get, see people having trouble recalling how frequently they're falling and under what circumstances they are falling. And so my background is in physical therapy, and so I'm always thinking about what type of intervention are we doing? And when we don't really have good data to guide our interventions, we have to kind of cover a lot of different things, and it's harder to intervene effectively. So what we are doing in this most current iteration of the grant is to better visualize the frequency and circumstances in which falls occur. So what we're doing is adding on to this system, asking people information when they do say that they've experienced a fall, asking about different information. So this will help increase self-awareness of when people are experiencing falls. And this will also help to better share information with care providers. So this is kind of a screenshot of some of the screens after a person falls and then they get into a safe position. They are presented with a variety of different questions. So where did your fall occur? And then it'll give you a graph of and then also, sorry, the time that it occurred, a lot of different questions. This will present you with various graphs of the different metrics that we asked, so location, the time, so on and so forth. And then you can also put your healthcare providers in to contact them if you do need assistance in the event of a fall. You're also able to export this data to Excel so that you can better share that with a care partner. So I'm just going to very quickly show you a quick video that shows the different components of the app. I'm having all kinds of trouble today.
Welcome to WheelSafe, a fall detection and management system specifically developed for people who use wheelchairs and scooters. In this mobile app, end users are able to log details of their fall by clicking the Log a Fall button, which will then take them through a series of questions regarding various details of their fall. At the end of these questions, users will then confirm fall details, and it will be stored in the app for future reference. Users can also log a fall directly on the app by clicking the I Just Fell button. Users can then decide to call emergency services, a preferred emergency contact, or simply clicking I'm okay, and will then lead you to the same fall details questionnaire. After a fall occurs, if users choose to log their fall details at a later time, they will receive push notification reminders until those fall details are completed. Users can also view a summary of their fall history in a daily view with individual details of their falls, a monthly view, and a yearly view. Users can also see the frequency of their falls based on time, location, and activity. These details can then be exported to an Excel sheet for users to share with their preferred healthcare providers and care partners. Lastly, users are able to view and manage their care team and add any healthcare providers and preferred care partners directly on the app, and they can add any new team member at any time. WheelSafe provides resources and tools to help people who use wheelchairs and scooters to manage their falls. Welcome to Wheelsing.
All right. So, and we are about to start recruiting new participants to do a working group to continue to refine the mobile application. So I'll leave this up for just 1 minute so that you can get our contact information. But we will be happy to answer any questions that you might have. You can feel free to put them in the chat or just speak up.
Great. Thank you for the presentation, Dr. Rice and Dr. Rogers. Yeah, we have some questions. One question posted in chat, I'll read it out to you. How do you make this adaptable to someone with a cognitive disability, such as having prompts for which contact?
Yeah, so we are kind of at the very early stages. We are working to make this as easy to use as possible. We are doing a lot of so the next stage is we're going to recruit different people to make sure that the app is as usable as possible. Right now, it is designed a bit more for individuals not facing significant cognitive disabilities, but we are continuing to evolve the project to ensure that the widest population can use it. So one part that we did is we actually talked to different healthcare providers, and they gave us a lot of really good suggestions on like how we can automate the systems as much as possible. Like at one point we were asking like, what were you doing before? And the one person said, well, you're using a smartwatch, like pull somebody's heart rate data from that just automatically. And so then we'll just know like, were they more active or not? And so that reduces the burden of the information that a person can they have to put in. We're also in the process of talking to care partners as well. And so I think we will be able to get a lot more suggestions on how we can, ensure that a variety of people can use it. We're also thinking of making like a dashboard that a care partner might be able to utilize so that they can input all the information to reduce, reduce the burden on the person themselves. So, but yeah, just baby steps one at a time.
I have a quick question regarding that, Dr. Rice. And you said that when you actually started, it was 7 years ago, right? You started from scratch. So how many iterations have you done so far? And how many more years are you planning to do? And what kind of changes? Like as you mentioned, these are baby steps, and that you will include maybe, how for other kind of wheelchair users, maybe with cognitive disabilities. So can you just kind of explain the history and where you see in the future?
Yeah, I mean, we started absolutely from scratch. So we had to develop the algorithm. I can't really say how many iterations because things have changed so much since the beginning. This started right before COVID as well. So we actually faced a fair amount of challenges with being able to get different types of watches and technology. So we actually started on a very basic watch that was easy to procure at the time. But our participants found the interface too confusing, so we switched over. Now we're using the Google Tick Watch primarily. In this current funding cycle, we're now expanding it to work with iOS with Apple products. So yeah, we're trying to expand it. We also added in the new visualization piece. But every time we do this, we make sure that we pair any advances in the product with doing interviews with people, focus groups, just making sure that before we make the changes, that's something that people like. And then after we make them, making sure we didn't go in a direction that wasn't good. So it's been that does slow down the process, but I think that also makes sure that it is very usable and useful for our end users.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Rice. Dr. Rogers, I have a quick question for you, and this is about the Access and Dawn project. And aim three of that is the, possible cross collaborations, right? Can you just explain a bit more about what that could include, and how could anyone reach out to you with what kind of collaboration?
Great, thank you. Thank you for the question. So we have all of the, we have survey and details about the participants, and then we have all the interview transcripts and across all of those different categories. So if there's a particular category somebody's interested in, for example, transportation for people with MS, and really wants to know what are their challenges, how are they responding to things, we have a short proposal that they could write and request to work on the data with somebody from our team. So we've had many people just digging into different aspects about, we had one recently looking at people, the environment, and from an architect's perspective, like what are some of the challenges they're having and how might we redesign? We had another one looking at social participation and what are some of the limitations, or volunteering and what are the limitations. So whatever somebody's particular interest would be, they could request to use our data to explore what are some of the unmet needs, or what are some of the responses and solutions that people are putting into place that might be useful for them. So the first step is reach out to me, and then I can give more details about things.
Thank you. Anyone else, do you have any questions? Okay, then. This was a great presentation, and we have learned a lot about your center and the work that you do, Dr. Rice and Dr. Rogers. Thank you so much for the presentation. We truly appreciate that. It was very interesting, and
Thank you.
yes.
We really appreciate it. We're glad to be here. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. And don't hesitate to reach out if you want any more information about our projects or some of the others that are being done by TechSage team.
Thank you very much. And so long, we will again meet in a couple of months with another interesting presentation. So thank you. Bye bye, everyone.
Thanks.
Thank you.
Bye. Thank you, Sumitra. Bye.